Some of the most durable structures in the world aren't made of massive stone blocks, but of simple soil, just compacted earth. And their incredible longevity presents a really interesting question of material science. It's a question explored in the thinking of Gokul Salvadi's work, The Memory of Rock, Understanding Rammed Earth. Think about that. There are sections of the Great Wall of China, fortifications in the Alhambra in Spain, entire ancestral homes in Fujian. These aren't just piles of rubble. In many cases, they are still functional, still load-bearing walls that have been standing for centuries, sometimes even millennia. So this isn't about romanticizing history. It's really about material evidence. And our focus here is to try and understand the specific properties that allow for this kind of endurance. So to understand why rammed earth lasts for so long, it helps to first look at why other, more common building materials, well, why they don't. The durability of rammed earth is really best understood by what it's missing, any kind of built-in mechanism for failure. The historical record really just provides the evidence, but it's materials science that gives us the explanation. You see, these ancient structures aren't flukes or exceptions. They're actually just demonstrations of the material's most fundamental properties. And these examples, they span different continents, very different climates, and completely different cultures. The one common variable through it all is the material itself. They're the evidence that really pushes us to ask, what is actually going on inside a rammed earth wall? Okay, so let's start by looking at the typical ways modern building materials break down over time. By comparing these different failure modes, the unique properties of rammed earth really start to stand out. A major failure mode for modern concrete is the corrosion of the steel rebar inside it. It's an electrochemical process. The iron reacts with oxygen and water, creating iron oxide, rust. And this rust actually expands with incredible force, cracking the concrete around it. That, in turn, lets more moisture in, and the whole cycle just gets faster. But traditional rammed earth, well, it has no reinforcing steel. It is completely immune to this entire process because the key ingredient for rust just isn't there. Now, wood structures, they're vulnerable to something else entirely, biological decomposition. Wood is made of cellulose, which is an organic compound, and fungi, termites, they've evolved specifically to digest that cellulose, to break the wood down. Rammed earth, on the other hand, is made of inert minerals, things like clay, sand, gravel. There's no organic matter, no cellulose. To a fungus or an insect, there's simply nothing to eat. And even concrete is subject to chemical degradation. Its binder, Portland cement, can be attacked by carbon dioxide from the air or by sulfates in the soil. There are even internal alkali-silica reactions that can break it down. The binder in a rammed earth wall is mostly clay. And clay minerals, they're the final product of rocks that have been weathering for geologic time. Chemically, they are already in an incredibly stable state. It's like they've already reached the end of their journey. There's really nowhere lower for them to go, chemically speaking. Now, a very specific objection often comes up, especially about termites. The logic seems to make sense. Termites live in soil. Rammed earth is made of soil, so termites will just move right through a rammed earth wall. But this way of thinking overlooks a critical physical change that happens to the soil. The heart of this misconception is pretty simple. Termites don't actually eat soil. They eat cellulose, and they find it by moving through the soil. So people confuse the properties of loose earth in the ground with that of a highly compacted wall. You see, termites travel through loose soil by taking advantage of all the existing voids and gaps, and they excavate particles that aren't locked together. But the process of ramming earth completely changes that structure. It compresses the soil to a density that's actually approaching soft rock. It forces the air out and it interlocks all the mineral particles. What little porosity is left is microscopic. The material is just too dense and the particles are too tightly bound for a termite to dig through. So for an insect that's trying to tunnel through a properly made rammed earth wall, it's not facing loose dirt it can push aside. It's facing a solid mineral mass. It simply doesn't have the ability to bore through it. So now that we've established what doesn't cause rammed earth to fail, we can isolate what does. And like any building material, it does have a vulnerability. For rammed earth, that vulnerability is consistent and it's very well understood. The material itself, it doesn't really degrade from the inside. The threat is external. The single greatest cause of failure for a rammed earth wall is liquid water, consistent unmanaged exposure, either to rain soaking the walls or to moisture coming up from the ground, that will, over a very long time, erode the wall and compromise it. The historical structures that have failed, they failed because of water. Because of this, the strategies for making sure it lasts aren't chemical, they're architectural. You need wide roof overhangs, a good hat to shield the walls from direct rain, and you need a solid, non-porous foundation that raises the wall up off the ground, good boots, to stop moisture from wicking up from the soil. Every one of the enduring historical examples we have, they all incorporate these two basic principles. And this all leads to a slightly different way of thinking about the material. Its longevity isn't something that's added to it. It's just its natural condition, as long as its main weakness is managed. Unlike materials that have a built-in lifespan because of corrosion or decomposition or chemical instability, rammed earth is fundamentally inert. Its components don't have some kind of predetermined path to failure. So when it's protected from its one external vulnerability, which is unmanaged water, a rammed earth wall has no internal clock. The clay binder doesn't expire, the mineral aggregates don't rot or rust. If you leave it alone under a good roof and on a dry foundation, the wall simply remains.